are 100% live and interactive classes. If you have any sort of doubt, you can clear everything in the classes only regarding the topic. Secondly, what we have is we give personalized attention to each and every students of our batches, because our batches consist of maximum 6 students, not more than that. And it also help us to keep an eye on you. Definitely you can also ask any sort of doubt in the classes only, and everything will be cleared within the class only. Fine. Thirdly, we have a very good dedicated academic mentor team who continuously keep a track on the students' progress. So how you are doing in the class, how you are performing in the homework, in which topic you are lagging, which topic you have already prepared with, everything is tracked, and accordingly you will get the feedback so that it will help you to improve yourself. Fine. And the fourth thing which we have is very important, that we cover the syllabus as per your school examination schedule, and this type of custom request we generally handle. So what is this? Like, you have any topic which is going on in your school, so you want to do that topic first, and then the rest of the topic whatever is coming to your school exam later on, right? So you can request it to us, and we will do those topic first, and then we will move on to the rest of the topics which you have in your syllabus, right? So these are the different general features of Swiflearn which we have, and let us find out what are our key features. So in Swiflearn, we have the detailed progress report. We keep the detailed progress report of each and every student. So over here, everything is tracked on, like how you are performing in the homework, how you are attending the classes. Hi Akshita, how are you? Good afternoon, beta. Okay, so how you are doing the homework, in which topic you are already prepared, which topic you were lagging, how to improve yourself so that you will never lose the marks. Everything is uh, there in the detailed progress report, and accordingly you will get this, and according to this one PTM will be held on over here, right? So you will get the feedback and you can improve yourself, right? Secondly, we have the SAT, which is the Swiflearn academic test series, which happen in every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can perform over there, and you will be able to understand what is your rank all over India, right? Hi Gaurav, how are you? Okay. Now coming to the third thing which we have is the unlimited practice test. So you, after completing each and every topic, you can go through all the practice tests. You can solve the question answers, like if, both the objectives and subjective question answer, and you will be able to practice again and again each and every topic, so that you will never miss, or the concepts will be totally clear to you, right? And the fourth thing which is also very important, that is the subjective test which we have for your school examination. So sometimes it happen that all the information is there with you, all the concepts are clear, but how to write the answer according to the marks, you sometimes miss it out, right? And you include some of the things which are not relevant to the question, or some key points you miss out to add, right? So here the subjective test will help you to write down the answers according to the marks, and we have a very good group of teacher who will always guide you how to write the answer, what are the key points you need to include within the answer, and where to include the diagram, where to include the chemical equations or the graph. And accordingly you will practice the subjective test again and again, the subjective questions again and again, and you will be able to find out, you will be able to improve yourself, and you will never lose any marks in the board exam as well as the school exam, right? So these are the key features of Swiflearn which we have. So what you have to do, please book a free trial class so that you can experience all these key features. Now the new admission is also going on. Please enroll with us, and before enrolling you can go through the trial classes which are totally free of cost, right? So stay with Swiflearn and learn with Swiflearn. And as you already do, I guess you have already subscribed our channel. If not, please subscribe it now and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming sessions. You can also you can always be with us and do the sessions carefully over here, and also you can enroll for the regular classes, right? So stay with Swiflearn, and I'm Trishika ma'am, your biology teacher, as you already know, and stay with me throughout the session. Please like, comment, and share with your friends and family members so that they also come to know about Swiflearn and they can also learn with you. Right? Okay. Now let us move on to the topic. So as you already know that we will discuss about the cell, right? So cell is a very preliminary thing which is all about the biology, right? As you already have studied a lot about the cell in class 9th, so you already have an idea what is the cell, what are the different organelles which are present within the cell, what is the cell made up of, and where the cells are present, right? So this all you already have an idea. So we will recall all those ideas as well as we will input some of the more information about the cell so that it will help you to further study about the biology in the other different chapters. Fine. So today in today's session we will mainly study about the cell shape and size. Then we will go to the cell organelles which you have already studied elaboratively in the previous classes, the previous grade. So we will just recall all those things whatever is present within the cell, all the cell organelles which are present within the cytoplasm. Then we will study the detail about the cell membrane. Okay, we will study about the fluid mosaic model of the plasma membrane over here, which is totally new to you. So be very careful about it. You are going to learn a new thing over here. Okay, so plasma membrane and the cell wall we will study. Cell wall is only present within the plant cell, as you already know. So what is the main function of the cell wall and how it looks like, we will study all these things. Then we will study about the cytoplasm. You already have an idea what is the cytoplasm. Like it is the fluid structure which is present, the fluid matrix within the cell which is present between the plasma membrane and the nuclear membrane, right? So we will study more about that, and then we will study about the nucleus in detail, which is very important because as you already know that nucleus is known as the brain of the cell, and this nucleus help in a lot of function. It actually control all the cellular activities, right? So in the next chapter you will study about the cell division, right? So before going to the cell division you have to get a clear idea about what is present within the nucleus, because the main nucleus, whatever material is present within the nucleus, they actually help, they play a great role in this cell division. Fine. So I guess you are all ready for the session. Yes. Okay. So do comment in the chat box and please press like button as you already do. And as you already know that whoever will give me most of the answers correctly in the chat box, so he or she will be the student of the session, and I will write his name or her name on the screen at the end of the session. Right. Okay. Now let us start with the cell. So, as you already know that what is cell, so let us recall the same thing, right? So, think about what is your whole house made up of. Yes, think about the house. There are various rooms, right, within your house. Now, think about any one room. So, each of the room has the four walls around it and also a ceiling, right? So, and definitely the floor. So, apart from this you have the doors and windows within the room, right? So what is this wall of the room made up of? If you think about the wall of the room, the basic structure of it, definitely it is made up of the bricks. Fine. And all the bricks are arranged in certain way with the help of the cement also, and over that the plaster of paris may be there, and after that the color is there, so that the beautiful room it seems to be from outside. But the basic unit which is giving you the structure of the room is the bricks, right? So can we say that these bricks are known as the building blocks? Yeah. So these bricks are known as the building block of the house or the room, and definitely they are arranged in a certain pattern so that they can separate one room from another, and this is the structure which is created to make the wall, and definitely all the walls will give the whole structure of the house, right? I guess you agree with me. Yes. So the similar thing happens in case of our body also. So what is present within our body? We also have some building blocks within our body, and definitely that building block will not be the bricks. है ना? Do we have the bricks on our body? No. So what is those building blocks? Yeah, those are known as the cells, right? So cells are all the building blocks whatever is present within our body, and all the cells, definitely the different cells of the different shape and different sizes, they are arranged in particular manner to form the tissues. Now these tissues particularly for performing a proper function to form the organ, and then the different organs will form the organ system, and the different organ system like the digestive system, circulatory system or excretory system or nervous system, together they coordinate with each other to perform the proper functioning of the body, and they totally form the whole organism, right? So from here we can conclude that what are cells? Cells are the building blocks of all the living organism. So over here it is written that it is a building block of human, definitely human, and it is also the building block of all living organisms, like including the microorganisms which we cannot see through our naked eyes, but we can see them under the microscopes only. All the plants, starting from the very small grasses, the herbs, to the tall trees, right? And definitely all the animals, starting from the very small insects like ant to the very large animals like mammals, you can see, like elephant or giraffe, right? So all these living organisms body structure, or the building block of all this living organism, is the cell. So up to this much I guess you have already got an idea what is the cell, right? And you have already studied it in class 9th. So let us watch a video to understand what particularly a cell is. So look at the video.
Every living organism is made up of cells, from plants to the lowliest worm to the most complex human being. But what is a cell? Well, a cell is a small, self-contained unit within a whole organism. Kind of like a room within a house. It is the smallest unit that can be classified as a living thing. We can think of them as the building blocks of life. So how many cells do you think you have in your body? 1,000? A million? A million? More. We contain around 50 trillion cells. Have a look at your little finger. There's probably about 10 billion cells in there. Now, cells come in all different shapes and sizes. Occasionally, cells can be large enough to be seen by the human eye. For example, the yolk of a chicken egg is actually a single cell, and some cells are really long, such as a nerve cell that runs the entire length of your spine. However, most cells are really, really tiny and can only be seen under a microscope. They are so tiny that you could fit about 10 of them across one of your hairs. Now, there are many different types of cells, and each cell carries out its own jobs. Some of these jobs are common to all cells, such as making proteins and producing energy, while some jobs are specific to the type of cell. A human sperm cell has to be able to swim, while the cells that produce a peacock's tail must produce beautiful coloured pigments. Sometimes cells can exist on their own, such as a simple bacterium or a single-celled organism called an amoeba. But mostly, cells work together to form more complex multicellular organisms, such as animals, plants, and insects. In a multicellular organism, as well as doing its own jobs, each cell also works together with the other cells around it to carry out an overall job. For example, the cells of the heart work together to pump blood around your body. So, cells come in all shapes and forms and have all sorts of jobs, but they are all fundamental building blocks of living organisms. Watch this video to learn more about different types of cells.
If you liked the video, give it a
Okay, so this is all about the cell, which you already have an idea from class 9th, right? Okay, so let us conclude what is a cell is. As you already have studied that cells are the building blocks of all living organisms. So starting from the very tiny bacteria to all the plants, all the animals, including the human being, these are all living organisms whose bodies are made up of the cell. So from here we can also conclude that the cell is the structural unit of all living organism. है ना? Okay. Now coming to the function. What is the function which is done by the cell? So these cells are all of capable. They are capable of independent existence, and they carry out all the different vital functions which are needed for the survival of all the living organisms. What are those vital functions? It can be the nutrition. It can be respiration, excretion, transportation, or any sort of functions related to the nervous system. Any sort of functions which are related to the endocrine system. So these are the different functions which are performed by the cells. So from here we can also say that the cells are also the structural and functional unit of the living organism, है ना? Because the cell perform all the vital activities together. Like in case of the unicellular organism, one single cell can perform all these activities, and in case of the multicellular organism, all the groups of cells will perform the different types of activities, right? So from here, we can conclude that the cell is the structural as well as the functional unit of all living organisms, right? Now, let us find out what are the different shapes and sizes of the cells which are present within our body or in the body of the other different living organisms. Okay, so as you already know and have an idea that cells vary in their shape and size, right? So, what can be the different shapes of the cells? It can be like oval, it can be of the spherical shaped, it can be rectangular, spindle shaped, or totally irregular shape of the cell like the nerve cells. So can you give me one examples of each of these cells? Like one example of the oval shaped cell, one example of the spherical or round shaped cell, one of the rectangular cell, one of the spindle shaped cell, or some cell which are totally irregular in shape. I'll expect this answer from you in the chat box. So let me clarify the shapes. This is the oval shape. Okay, let me draw the very small cells. Okay, so spherical will be definitely the round. Okay, rectangular shaped cells we can see like this. I would like to see one example from for each of the cells from you. Okay, let me see who can give me the correct answer in the chat box. Spindle shaped matlab the cell seems to be like this. Okay, they have the tapering end and a bulging at the middle portion of the cell. Okay, and definitely they will have the nucleus. And the irregular shaped cells can be like this. Example you will give me, I'll not tell you now. Or it can be sometimes like the nerve cell, whose example is already given to you over here. The irregular shaped cells can be the neuron, that is the nerve cell, which seems to be like this. I'm just drawing a very simple structure. Okay, so these are the different types of shapes of the cells which we can find within our body, right? Now, can you give me one example of the oval shaped cell? Yes, let me see who can give me the answer. Have you ever seen the microscopic view of the liver found in the skin? Okay, or the cheek cell, we can say these are rectangular in shape. Okay, now where do you find the spindle shaped cell? Any idea? Yes, Gaurav. Yes, Akshita. Any idea of the spindle shaped cell? We can find this shape of cell in the muscles, right? The muscle cell seems to be spindle shaped. है ना? Then coming to the totally irregular shape of cell. So this is the nerve cell, as you already know. This is the neuron. So this is the irregular shape, as well as we can find this irregular shaped cell in the WBC, that is the white blood cells, which are also present within our blood, right? So these are the different types of cells or the different shapes of the cells which are found in our body or in the body of other living organisms. Now let us move on to the size of the cells. So what can be the different size of the cells? Do you see that cells which without the microscope? No, most of the cells are microscopic, and these are very tiny so that we cannot see through our naked eyes. We have to use the microscope to observe the total detailed study of the cell, right? So like example, the very small cells which are found in our body is the RBC. But there are also the different cells which we can see through our naked eyes. Can you give one example of that? Please give the example of that in the chat box. Okay, I'll tell you later on. So, the longest cell in our body is the nerve cell. So you can get some of the questions like which one is the longest cell in our body, which is the largest cell of the world, what is the smallest cell in the world. These are the different objective type of question you can get, and definitely the largest cell on the world is the ostrich egg. Okay, so what is the measurement of the ostrich egg? It can be 6 inches long and 5 inches in the diameter. Okay, so this large size of the cell is the ostrich egg. If I think about the smallest cell, what is the smallest cell, or where can we find the smallest cell? This is the smallest cell, which is called the mycoplasma. It is one type of bacteria. Okay, it has another name that is known as pplo. Okay, pplo is another name whose size is approximately 10 micrometer. Okay, 10 micrometer is the size of this smallest cell on the world. So these are the different types of cells which we can see, and these are the different sizes of the cell. So let me tell you how much long the nerve cells which can be present within our body is. It can vary from 0.1 millimeter to 1 meter. Can you imagine? Yes, this is the length of the nerve cells which can be present within our body. So these are all about the different cells, the different shapes and the sizes of the cells which can be present in all the living organisms. Clear hai? If you have any doubt, please write it down in the chat box. Yeah, and please note down these important facts within your notebook. Okay, now let us move on to how we can divide the different organisms based on how many number of cells are present within their body. So we can definitely categorize them into two main groups. What are the two groups? One is the unicellular cell and second one is the multicellular cell. So from the name only we can get the idea that how many cells will be present within the unicellular and the multicellular cells, right? So if we divide the word unicellular, uni matlab one or single we can say, right? Uni matlab one and cellular matlab cells. So whenever the living organisms are having only one cell throughout the body, definitely those organisms will come under this group, that is the unicellular. And if we divide the word multicellular into two main groups, so multi matlab many, as we already know, and cellular matlab cells, right? So we can divide them into two words, and by dividing it we can get that the organisms are made up of the many cells. So when the organisms are made up of more than one cells or the many cells, it can be trillions of the cells present within the body, then we will call those organisms as the multicellular organisms, right? So you have got an idea how many cells are present within the body, and based on how many the number of the cell, we can divide the organisms into unicellular and the multicellular organisms, right? Okay, so let us find out what are the different examples of the unicellular and multicellular organisms. It can be the bacteria and yeast coming under the unicellular organisms because their whole body is formed of only one cell. Also, you can give some of the examples like amoeba, paramecium, euglena. I'll show you all the pictures of those cells which are only made up of one cell. Coming to the multicellular organisms, definitely I have already said that multicellular matlab when the organism's body is made up of millions and millions of the cells. It can be the spirogyra. So what is the spirogyra? It is basically one type of algae, okay, or it can be the human being. So other than this, you can also say that all the trees which you can see over here, like around you, like the mango tree, banana tree, you can say the rose plant, or any sort of herbs or shrubs, they are all made up of the millions and millions of cells. Also you can say the different examples like dog, cat, tiger, lion, all the different animals which you see around you, all of them are the multicellular organisms because their body consists of more than one cells. Fine. So this is the definition of the unicellular organism. If you get a question of what do you mean by unicellular organism and what are the examples of that, you have to write like this, that the organisms which are made up of only one cell or the single cell are known as the unicellular organism. So the whole body is made up of only one cell, right? For example, you can see over here the whole cell consist of the whole body of the amoeba. This is only one cell which is making up the whole body of the euglena, and also this is the whole cell which is spindle shaped. You can see over here sleeper shaped sometimes we also say, because it seems to be the slipper. The shape seems to be the sleeper which is present in the paramecium. So in all these organisms, the whole body is made up of only one cell. Clear hai? Now let us find out what are the multicellular organism. You can see the various animals, the plants, whatever you see around you, those are all made up of the multicellulars. Means they are all the multicellular organisms, right? So if you get a question like what do you mean by multicellular organism and give some example, what you have to write, the organisms which are composed of a collection of the cells so that they can perform a proper function in a coordinated manner, we can say that those organisms are known as the multicellular organism. Hi Neetu, very good afternoon. Oh, you are a regular student at Swiflearn. Great, great, very good. We will definitely meet in the regular class someday. Okay. Chalo. So let me give you the structural organization of the multicellular organism like the human being. If you see that trillions and trillions of cells are making up the whole body of the living organism, the cells, a group of cells together performing a similar type of function is making up the tissues. Now the group of tissues again performing a particular function will make up the organs, like the different organs which you have in your body, like the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver, heart, like brain. All of them are the different organs. Now when these organs are coordinating with each other to perform a proper function, they are making up the total organ system. Hi Anu, good afternoon. I guess you were Shivansh, beta. Yes. Okay. So these organ systems, when they are coordinating with each other to help a total organism to perform all the different vital functions of the body, they totally make up the whole organism. So this is the basic level of organization of all the living organism. Clear hai up to this much? Any doubt you have, you can ask me in the chat box. Fine. Okay. Now let us find out what are the different shapes of the cell. You have already got an idea, like the biconcave or the circular shaped cell we can find in the RBC. It seems to be like this. Okay, the biconcave shaped cell. Okay, and always remember that they do not have the nucleus in the matured when the RBCs are matured. Fine. Now coming to the nerve cell, they are the longest cell in human beings, and they seems to be like this. They have a head, okay, having the dendrites to carry the nerve impulses. The tech receives the nerve impulses from other cells, and they have a tail-like structure along which the nerve impulses goes to the other neurons. Fine. So this is the this is of the long length, and this is the nerve cells. Oh, yeah, not yet. I have not started the session of the Swiflearn of class 7th. Definitely, I'll start it. And you can go through the sessions which are already there in YouTube. Okay, the sessions of Swiflearn, which we have already covered in the CBSE board. Okay, Anu, okay. Now coming to the WBC. So WBC seems to be amoeboid shape, like the shape of the amoeba. You have already seen that it is the irregular shaped cell, and the similar type of shape is there in the WBC with of our blood also. Clear hai? And what about the guard cell? Where do you find the guard cell? Remember, the guard cell are the bean shaped cells which guard whom? They guard the Stomata, right? So these are the guard cells having the bean shaped structure which help in the opening and closing of the stomata, so that a proper gaseous exchange within the plant and the environment will take place, right? So these are the various shapes of the cells which are commonly we study, right? Up to this much clear, Anna? Yes, got an idea that how the shapes are how the cells are having the different shapes. Okay, now do you have any idea that on which factor the shape of the cells are dependent on? Do they depend on like the whole size of the body? Do you think that the ant is very small and that is why the cells of the ant will be very small, but the elephant is very large and that is why the cells of the elephant will be very large? Do you think like that? Yeah. Yes, Anu. Yeah, I know you want to study with me. It will start, Shivansh. It will start definitely. You can contact to Swiflearn and definitely they will give you the date and time of the session. Okay, and then definitely we will meet in the regular class. Fine, Shivansh. Okay. Chalo. So, what is the factor affect the shape of the cell? Does it depend on the size of the body of the organism? No, it never depends upon the size of the body of the organism. Rather, they depend upon the functions which are performed by those particular cells. So they depend upon the function. Please write it down. This is a very important information over here, that cells are capable of changing their shape, and according to the change of their shape, they can perform their particular function. Like for example, the white blood cells and the amoeba, they can change their shape depending upon what type of function they are performing at that time. Okay, so the white blood cell have the amoeboid shape and that allows them to squeeze through the capillary walls. Now let me give you another example. Like the you have already got an idea, I have already drawn the nerve cells, right? They are the longest cells within human body. So why are they long? Because they have to carry a lot of nerve impulses from the different sense organs towards the brain, as well as from the brains towards the different glands and muscles of our body, right? And that is why to carry all those nerve impulses they have to be long, because they have to carry the impulses in a long distance, है ना? So depending upon the function of each and every cells, the different shapes of the cells are also varying. Clear है ना? Up to this much, the total concept is clear, I guess. Yes. If you have any doubt, I'm repeating again. Please write it down in the chat box. Now let us find out what cell theory is. So do you remember you have also studied about the cell theory in ninth grade? Yes. So who discovered the cell theory? It was discovered in mid 19th century by the three famous scientists. Those were Matthias Claydon, Theodore Swan, and Rudolf Virchow. So, in the beginning, Matthias Claydon and Theodore Swan gave the two main explanation of the cell, the basic explanation of the cell. Right now, after that, after some time, Rudolf Virchow added another extra information and extra statement within the cell theory. So, let us find out what are the main statements of the cell theory. Yes, do you remember what are the different statements of the cell theory? It is the basic theory upon which the whole biology, the study of biology depends on. Okay, so the first explanation given about the cell is all living organisms are made up of cell. We all agree that all the living organisms starting from the very small microorganism till the large big tall trees or the animals, all of them are made up of the cells, because cells are the building block of all living organisms, right? Secondly, this was added by Rudolf Virchow in the cell theory, that is, living cells come only from other living cells. So, what does it mean? There is already a cell. By the division of the cell, again the new cells are forming. So, think that this is already a cell which is present within our body. So, by the process of the cell division, two daughter cells are formed from the mother cells, right? So, continuously this cell division will take place, and our growth and development, and definitely the old cells will be repaired by the new cells. These are the different processes which will continuously go on within the body of all living organisms. So this is a very important statement. Please write it down. Living cells come from only other living cells. So other living cell will be the mother cell, and this mother cell, uh, during the process of cell division, will give rise to the two daughter cells. Okay, so in the next chapter definitely you will study more about the cell division. There will be the two main types of cell division which we will explain in the next chapter. Fine. Now coming to the third thing. The third statement was the cell are the basic unit of structure and function in the living things. I have already proved you and I have already explained why the cells are known as the structural and functional unit of the living things, because they give a proper structure to the whole body of all the living organism, as well as they perform all the vital activities of the living organisms. So clear up to this much, I guess it's totally clear to your mind, right? Okay. So now we have studied a lot about the cell and all the cell theory, whatever is present within the cell. So can you tell me how can you see that what is actually present within the cell? If we think about most of the cells, definitely most of the cells are microscopic, right? So we need to use the microscope. Definitely in your laboratory, your biological lab in your school, you can find the compound microscope. So the detailed study of the compound microscope you have already studied in the class 9th grade, right? So you have already got an idea what is the microscope and what are the different parts of the microscope which help us to see the different species or the specimens clearly, right? So definitely the cells can be studied under the microscope very clearly, and we will study about the cell what are now present within the cell. So whatever is present within the cell which are actually present in a floating way on the cytoplasm, they are known as the cell organelles. Fine. These are the various parts of the cells, and each of these cell organelles have a particular type of function which together perform the whole function of our living organisms. Clear hai? Now what are these cellular organelles? It can be the nucleus, it can be mitochondria, ribosome, Golgi complex, or Golgi bodies we can say sometimes. Endoplasmic reticulum, we have also studied about the two different types of endoplasmic reticulum, rough and smooth, remember. Then we have also studied about the lysosome, ribosome, centrosome, which is centrosome is mainly present in the animal cells, plastids which are only present in the plant cells, and the vacuoles which are large in case of the plant cell but small in case of the animal cells. So we already have an idea about all these cellular organelles, right? All these cell organelles are membrane bound. Always remember that in case of eukaryotic cell, you already have an idea what is a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cells are those which are having a true nucleus or a well defined nucleus, right? So those cells are have also having this membrane bound organelles. So I will show you what are the structure and what are the main functions of this membrane bound organelles. So apart from this cell organelles, definitely there is a covering of the cell. You can see over here the different covering, right? The outermost covering, it is known as the cell membrane. So the cell membrane is present both in the plants and animal cells, but in case of the plant cell, they have a different or an extra covering that is known as the cell wall, which is not present in the animal cell. Remember? Okay. Now let us study about the different structure of the cell. Okay, let me show you a proper 3D view of what are present within the cell. Clear? So this is the 3D model of the cell which is coming on your screen. Just look at the cell. Okay. So let us start from the very first thing. The very first thing, the outermost covering of all the plant cell as well as the animal cell. Not on the plant cell. Definitely plant cell also have the cell wall above it, but in case of the animal cells, or this covering is present in all the different cells of the eukaryotes, that is the plasma membrane. So I am showing you mainly the animal cell. ठीक है? So in case of animal cell, the outermost covering is the plasma membrane. So I'll definitely tell you the detail of the plasma membrane, the total chemical structure of the plasma membrane. So this is actually the plasma membrane which is covering the whole cell. Now coming to the different tiny things which can be present in specific structures of the plasma membrane, which can be the microvilli. Okay, so these are the very small hair like structures which are present sometimes in specific types of cells, which actually increase the surface area of the cell. Fine. Now coming to the third one, which is the flagella. So flagella, it helps the cell to locomote or move from one place to another whenever it is needed. It is again not present in all the cells, but specifically to perform the function of locomotion, flagella is present within the cells. Now come to whatever is present within the cell. So as you already know, the fluid like structure which is present within the cell is known as cytoplasm. Now within the cytoplasm, all the different reactions, the chemical reactions takes place, and definitely all the cellular organelles are present within the cytoplasm. Clear hai? Now let's come to the fifth one, which is the nucleolus. So where is the nucleolus present? It is a dense condensed structure which is present within the nucleus. So over here you can see this is the nucleus, which are having very small pores which we call as the nucleopores, and within the nucleus this structure is known as the nucleolus, which is made up of the protein, RNA and DNA, and they are mainly they perform the role of synthesis of the ribosomes. Fine. Now coming to the nucleus, as you already have studied about the nucleus, so the nucleus is covered with a nuclear membrane, you can see over here, and the membranes are having some pores which are the nucleopores, and within the nucleus definitely the chromosome or the chromatin materials are present. Within the nucleus the nucleolus is also present, and within this nucleus definitely the hereditary characters are present which are passed from the parents to the offspring. Fine. Now, coming to the endoplasmic reticulum. You have already studied about the two types of endoplasmic reticulum. Remember, the rough ER and the smooth ER. So, what makes the rough ER, the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum, rough? Definitely the presence of the ribosomes. So, when the ribosomes are present on the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum, we call them as the rough ER, which play a vital role in making or synthesis of the protein. Clear hai? Now coming to the smooth ER. So along with the rough ER, there are certain endoplasmic reticulum who are smooth. Why smooth? Because the surface is not containing any sort of ribosomes, and that makes the surface totally smooth. Fine. So this smooth ER helps in making of the proteins and the lipids of the cell. Clear? Now let's move on to the other cellular organelle, that is mitochondria, which is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Remember why powerhouse of the cell? Because energy production takes place within this cellular organelle, right? In the form of ATP. Now, if we see within the mitochondria, definitely it is the double membrane bound structure, and the outer membrane is totally smooth, and the inner membrane is having the different folds. And the folds, remember, those are known as the cristae. You have already studied in class 9th, right? And this mitochondria floats on the cytoplasm, and within the mitochondria, they have their own DNA and ribosomes. Yes, remember? You have already studied this in class 9. Now coming to the Golgi apparatus. So Golgi apparatus seems to be like this, and sometimes they are pinched up to form the vesicles, and this Golgi apparatus helps in the packaging of the different things which are already made up by the endoplasmic reticulum, and after packaging they deliver them to the proper destination of the within the cell. Let's move on to the next cellular organelle, that is the centriole. So where are the centrioles present? Centrioles are generally present within the centrosome, as you already know, and the centrioles are present within the animal cells only, right? What is the main function of the cell? Or what is the main function of the centriole? They help in the Cell division, yes, they generally help in the cell division, as well as they are made up of the different types of microtubules. So you can see from here the side views of the microtubules, which also help in a production of the spindle fiber and the cilia. So if you see the same centriole from upside or the cross section, you can see these are the microtubules which are arranged in a beautiful way. Seems to be like a flower, right? So this is the cross section of the centriole which are present within the animal cells. Next is the microtubule. Microtubules are present which are a part of the cells which give a proper structure, the cytoskeleton of the cell. They makes the total cytoskeleton, or we can say that it gives a proper structure to the cell. Fine. And definitely it also helps to make the centriole. Now, coming to the intermediate filaments, there are the various types of actin filaments which can be present, tubulin filaments also which can be present within the cell, which give a proper structure or which make the total cytoskeleton of the cell again. Okay. So these are basically the different structures. Coming to the vesicles, as you already know, vesicles are also having the multiple function, like it involves in the metabolism, it helps in the maintaining the buoyancy of all the different things within the cell. It also help in transporting the different things from one place to another place within the cells. Okay. Next is the peroxisome. It is very thin cellular organelle which are present within the animal cell, and it is also known as the microbodies. Okay, and they generally help in the catabolism process. Okay. Now, so these are the main structures of the cell. I have already shown you the 3D view of all the structure, whatever is present within the cell. Now let's move on to some question. Let me see you can give me the correct answer or not. Do you know how many cells are present within our body? I have already shown you the video of what are the different, how many cells are approximately how many cells are present in our body or the human body. Can you tell me? Yes. Yes, Shivansh. Hi, Nitu. Can you tell me how many cells are actually present within our body? It can vary from 50 trillions to 100 trillions, right? Can you imagine? Yes. Okay. Now can you tell me who coined the term cell first? Do you remember the scientist you have already studied about in class 9, who studied the cell at the very first time, the dead cell under the microscope, and the microscope was also the primitive microscope, and he wrote everything, all the observation under inside the book which is known as micrographia. Now can you tell me the name of the scientist who coined the term cell? And the cell means that the little rooms, right? Because after looking into the cells under the microscope, it reminded the scientist about the very little rooms of the monasteries where he spent his childhood. Remember? So, what is the name of the scientist? Yes, he was Robert Hooke. Okay, he discovered the cell in 1665, and also he coined the term cell for the first time. Now, coming to the next question, what is the smallest unit of all living organism? Can you describe it? Yes, definitely the cell, right? Cell is the smallest unit of all the living organism. It is a structural and functional unit of life because it performs all the vital activities of our body, as well as it gives a proper structure to all the living organisms, right? Okay. Now, have you ever think of this, right? We all are having trillions and trillions of cells within our body, but also we originated from a single cell. Can you name that cell? Yeah. Have you ever heard about zygote? After the fusion of the male and female gamete, the first cell of the new organism which is formed is known as the zygote. And after the continuous division of this zygote, a total embryo will be formed. Then the differentiation will take place. The total body structure will take place, and the birth of the new baby will take place. Right. So these are the different steps of the like a living organism before the birth. And definitely we also started our life from a very single cell, that is the zygote. Okay. So the cell has the capability of division, and due to this cell division, definitely we are also existing as a multicellular organism, but we have also started our journey from the single cell, right? Okay. Now let us focus on the three essential parts of the cell, that is the nucleus, cell membrane and the cytoplasm. So as I have already said that the cell membrane is the outermost covering of all the cells, whether it is a plant cell or a animal cell. So this cell membrane is also having a name, that is the plasma membrane. So the plasma membrane is present just beneath the cell wall when in case of the plant cell, because cell wall, as you already know, it is not present within the animal cell, but it is only present within the plant cell. So it can be compared to the door of our room. Like what do we do with the door of the room? Anybody comes in within our room, or we can shift anything to outside the room, or we can also go from one room to another through the door, right? The similar type of thing happens in case of the cell membrane also. Cell membrane acts as a door because selectively it allows the specific substances to pass within the cell and go out of the cell. And this is very important thing which I'm telling, that is the specific substance. Okay, they do not allow everyone to go inside the cell or go out of the cell. They actually allowed the specific substance, and that is why they are known as the selectively permeable membrane. So membranes can be fully permeable, selectively permeable or impermeable. Fully permeable matlab the cell wall, like for example the cell wall, they allow everyone to pass through it. Fine. Selectively permeable matlab they allow specific molecules to pass through it. Okay. And impermeable matlab, for example, you can see the plastic or the rubber who doesn't allow anybody to pass through it. Fine. Got an idea about the three different types of membrane? So what type of membrane is the plasma membrane? It is a selectively permeable membrane because it allows specific substances to pass through it, to enter within the cell or go out of the cell. Now let us find out what is the structure of the plasma membrane. So again, this is a 3D model of the plasma membrane which will give you a clear idea of the plasma membrane. So let me show you the total plasma membrane. Can you see the head-like structure, the bulge-like structure, which is the ball we can see over here, and beneath it also. And there are the two tail-like structure coming from both the ends like this. है ना? So these are the different lipids. The lipid bilayer you can see over here. These are the two lipid bilayers. So if we think about, this is the outside of the cell and this is the inside of the cell. So what is present outside the cell? Extracellular fluid or extracellular material, and within the cell definitely the cytoplasm. So let me show you how it looks from inside. This is the inside of the cell and this one is the outside of the cell. Clear hai? Now there are the various colorful things which are present or embedded within this lipid bilayer. So what are these? Basically these are the proteins. So some of the proteins from the side view you can see that they are present throughout the lipid bilayer. Some of them are present outside the structure and some of them are present inside within the plasma membrane, right? So these are having their different names and different functions also. So whatever proteins are present outside, these are known as the extrinsic proteins, right? Whatever proteins are present inside inner word, those are known as the intrinsic proteins, right? And whatever proteins are present throughout the lipid bilayer, they are known as the transmembrane proteins. So if you think about the chemical composition of the plasma membrane, you will find that these are the lipid bilayer, seems to be like the sandwich, है ना? Yes, and within the sandwich, like you have the different toppings and the different things you can see, like these proteins are the toppings. Okay, paneer or sweet corn sometimes you have on the sandwich, right? And some of them are also embedded within this, and this is the bread of the sandwich, which is the lipid bilayer. Fine. Isn't it a very nice view? Yes. So what is the chemical composition of the plasma membrane? It is made up of the bilayer of lipid, the protein, as well as carbohydrates are also present, which are either joined with the proteins outside, or which are joined, or they are joined with the cholesterol or the lipids sometimes. Fine. So let us find out the main detail of the structure of the plasma membrane. So this is the whole structure of the plasma membrane, whose 3D I have already shown you. So this is the lipid bilayer you can see over here, right? You have already seen this structure of the cell membrane. Now, why it is known as the hydrophobic region? So in between we can see that these are the head of the lipid bilayer and these are the tail of the lipid bilayer. Again, this is the tail and this one is the head. Okay, so head portions are hydrophilic. उसका मतलब क्या है? Hydrophilic मतलब water loving. Hydro मतलब water and philic matlab loving. So these are water loving and they can tolerate the water. They help the water to pass through it, or the outer surface and the inner surface are having the water molecules. Fine. Now, the tails are known as the hydrophobic. It is known as the hydrophobic. इसका मतलब क्या है? Hydro, again, hydro मतलब water, and phobic. You have already studied about phobia. है ना? Phobia का मतलब क्या है? You are hating something or you are having some fear about it, right? So water hating region. So the tail region of this lipid bilayer are the water hating region. They hate the water, they cannot tolerate the water, that is why they are inner side, okay, inside it. And the head region are the hydrophobic region or the water loving region. Clear hai up to this much? Now, this is the inner membrane, as you can also see over here, seems to be like a sandwich, and this is the outer membrane, this is the inner membrane. So inner membrane matlab you will find the cytoplasm inside it, and the outer membrane matlab after this one you will find the extracellular materials, whatever matrix, extracellular fluid or extracellular materials are present outside the cells. Okay? Then you can find the protein, as I have already shown you in the 3D structure also. The proteins sometimes are embedded to the whole throughout the lipid bilayer. They are the transmembrane protein, we can say. Okay, so there are also the different proteins like which are present above it or inside it. They are the intrinsic and extrinsic protein, and we can also see the carbohydrate chain. These carbohydrate chains are actually attached either with the fat, the lipid, or it can be attached with the protein. Fine. And obviously the different molecules of cholesterols can also be seen uh, in the plasma membrane. Fine. Sometimes the protein can also be in the helical like structure. It seems to be the helical like structure, like the helix, alpha helix proteins are also present. So this is the whole structure of the plasma membrane. Clear hai na? This is very important, and the structure, the drawing of this structure or the diagram of the structure of plasma membrane is also very important. So this structure is having one particular name. The name of this model is known as the fluid mosaic model. It was first proposed by the very famous scientists Singer and Nicholson. The two very famous scientists, Singer and Nicholson, and they said that the plasma membrane consists of the three main components, that is the lipid. You have already seen the lipid bilayer, then the protein and the carbohydrates, right? Which are always carbohydrates are attached with the lipids or the proteins. Fine. So these components can flow freely and fluidly inside the cell, plasma membrane, and that is why this model is known as the fluid mosaic model. It seems to be like the icebergs are floating in the ocean. Okay, and keeping that view in mind, Singer and Nicholson gave the name fluid mosaic model. Now let us find out the fluid mosaic model in detail.
We each have between 30 and 40 trillion cells in our body, with each cell containing our DNA, special cell machinery, and the nutrients to keep ourselves and us alive. But you may not have given much thought for the special protective layer around the outside, the cell membrane. The cell membrane holds the components of the cell inside and acts as a protective barrier from the outside. carefully letting certain things enter and exit the cell in a controlled manner. In this video, we're going to look at the wonderful cell membrane in more detail. If you look at a cell membrane under a microscope, you would see a mosaic of different molecules moving around in a fluid way. Hence, scientists describe how membranes look and act as the fluid mosaic model. Cell membranes are made up of three main things: phospholipids, cholesterol, and proteins. The phospholipid bilayer is made of individual phospholipids. These phospholipids arrange themselves into two layers, with their heads pointing outwards and their tails pointing inwards. Okay, but what is a phospholipid? The head is a phosphate molecule that has a slight charge, so is polar, and thus is attracted to water. They are hydrophilic, and the two tails are made up of fatty acids that do not have a charge, and so are nonpolar, and thus repel water. They are hydrophobic. This attraction and repulsion to water is why phospholipids arrange themselves into two rows in the cell membrane: water lovers and water haters. The membrane is exposed to water, mixed in with other things, on both the inside and outside of the cell, and so the water attracted heads face outwards, with the water repelled tails hiding on the inside. Then there's cholesterol. This special molecule that's made in the liver regulates the fluidity and permeability of the cell membrane as it causes the phospholipids to stay closer together. And the third main molecule, the proteins. These come in different types. The integral proteins help transport large molecules across the cell membrane. Molecules can be transported in either direction, in or out, and they can go passively down their concentration gradient through protein channels or against the gradient, being actively pumped by protein pumps. The peripheral proteins are involved in communication and some transport. And the glycoprotein play an important role in cell recognition by the immune system. So what makes this model of the cell membrane so special? Its fluidity. It's a perfect balance so that the cell can move and substances can easily move across the membrane, but the membrane isn't too fluid. Otherwise, there would be no control over what substances enter and leave the cell, or the cell wouldn't be properly held together. So now you know what keeps our trillions of cells together, and all animal and plant cells too. This wonderful fluid mosaic of phospholipids, cholesterol, and different kinds of proteins.
If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up.
Okay, so you have already got an idea about the fluid mosaic model of plasma membrane, as well as you have got an idea how the plasma membrane help the different molecules to pass through it by the different type of active transport and the passive transports, right? Okay, now let us find out, let us conclude what are the main chemical compositions which are found in the plasma membrane. As I have already shown you the picture of the plasma membrane, so the protein molecules are present embedded in the phospholipid bilayer, right? Like a sandwich, the lipid bilayer is there. They have the two ends. One is the hydrophilic head, that is water loving head, we can say. They can attract the water, and the which is polar in nature, and another the hydrophobic tail, that is water hating region, because they repel the water, right? Now the head is exposed towards the outside, and the tail definitely will expose towards the inside. And the protein molecules which are present within the plasma membrane are of three main types. One is the extrinsic protein, present generally outside the plasma membrane. Some of them are the intrinsic protein, present mainly inside the plasma membrane, and some of them are the transmembrane protein, taking the whole breadth of the plasma membrane. Clear hai? Now we have also studied about the carbohydrates, how they are present. They are present by attaching with the protein, either which makes the glycoprotein, or they can be attached with the lipid, which can be the glycolipid. Fine. So this is all about the whole fluid mosaic model of the plasma membrane. So please keep it in mind. This is a very important portion of this chapter. Fine. Now let us find out what is the cell wall. An extra covering is needed which help the plant cell to be in a fixed region, to be rigid and tolerate the various types of natural calamities which go on within the environment. So that extra covering of the plant cell is known as the cell wall. So above the cell membrane, cell wall is present, which are mainly present within the plant cell, not in the animal cell. Always remember. So what is the chemical composition of this cell wall? It is made up of the cellulose. Now let us see what is the main structure of this cell wall. So this is the 3D model of a plant cell. We have already seen the model of the animal cell. So the plant cell seems to be like this. They are having the outermost covering, which is known as the cell wall. So just beneath the cell wall, the plasma membrane is present. You can see that the green color structure is the cell wall, and beneath the cell wall there is a light grayish color membrane, which is known as the plasma membrane. Now definitely within the plant cell, the other cellular organelles are also present, like the animal cells, which can be the mitochondria, chloroplast, cytoskeleton, the cytoplasm, which is present, the fluid like structure, the ribosome, the central vacuole, Golgi apparatus, these are all present. The extra thing which is present within the plant cell is the chloroplast, which helps in the process of photosynthesis, and the different types of plastids, right? Other than this, if you see clearly the cell wall, they are having the very small pores. These pores are known as the plasmodesma, or the singular word is known as the plasmodesmata, which makes a connection or a bridge between the two consecutive cells, right? They help to pass on the different molecules from one cell to another. So these pores are known as the plasmodesmata. So this is the total structure of the plant cell, and the outermost covering of the plant cell is the cell wall. Clear? Okay. Now let's move on to uh, why do they need the cell wall? Or have you ever seen that the plants, the different portion of the plants are sometimes they are soft and the other portions of them are hard, like woody, right? If you think about our body, the whole body is made up like covered with this skin, and a different type of softness is present within the whole body of all the living organism, all the animals. If we think about the plant cell, the leaf seems to be soft, but the stem seems to be hard. Why does it so? Why? Why the stems are hard and the leaves are soft? Because of the presence of the two main chemicals which are present mainly in the stems, which are known as the suberin and the lignin. So suberin is the waxy substance which is found in the cell wall of the stems of the plant, which mainly control the regulation of all the movement of the solids through the xylem vessels. So whatever is moving throughout the xylem and phloem, these are all regulated by the suberin. And what about the lignin? This is also another type of the organic compound which binds to the cellulose to form a chief part of the wood. Okay, so they make the hardy part of the stem, which is made by this lignin. Okay, so these are the two main things which gives a proper hardy structure to the stems of the cells. Now let us move on to the cytoplasm. What are the cytoplasm? Definitely it is the fluid, or we can say the matrix of the cell, which is present within the cell membrane, right? The cell membrane, and between the cell membrane and the nuclear membrane, all the different chemical reactions takes place within the cytoplasm, and all the different cellular organelles like the mitochondria, ribosome, lysosome, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulums, all are present within the cytoplasm only. Fine. Now there is a part of the cytoplasm where the organelles are not present. This part is known as the cytosol. So where is the cytoplasm present? It is present within the cell membrane, and in between the cell membrane or the plasma membrane and the nuclear membrane. Clear? Hai? Now coming to the last thing, that is the nucleus. You have already got an idea about the nucleus. It is the double membrane structure, and they are having the nuclear pore, nuclear membrane outside. So if you think about the nucleus, the proper true nucleus, which are mainly present within the eukaryotic cells, they are having the nuclear membrane. The nuclear membranes are having the certain pores which are known as the nucleopores. The nucleoplasm is present, which is the fluid which is present within the nucleus. Okay, and always remember that the nucleoplasm and the cytoplasm together form the whole protoplasm of the cell. Clear hai? Now coming to the different things which are present within the nucleoplasm is the chromatin materials, the chromatin fibers which are carrying all the hereditary characters from which are transmitting the characters from one parent to the offspring. These are all present within the chromatin fibers. Now these chromatin fibers condense during the process of cell division to form the chromosome. So this is also present. It is present in the cytoplasm. The whole nucleus is present within the cytoplasm. Let me show you a 3D model of the nucleus also. So this is the 3D model of the nucleus. You can see the outermost thing of the nucleus. You can see this is the nuclear membrane. So over here on this nuclear membrane, the nucleopores are also present, through which the different materials can go outside the nucleus towards the cytoplasm, as well as from the cytoplasm it can move into the nucleus. Within the nucleus you can find the nucleolus. This is the nucleolus number 1. Second one, you can see the whole nucleus, and the third one is showing you the whole nuclear envelope. So within the nucleus, apart from this nucleolus, we can also find out the chromatin materials which are found and helps in transmitting the different hereditary characters from one generation to another. So this is all about the nucleus. I hope that you have already studied a lot about the cell and got an idea about the cell. You have already studied about the cell in the previous grade also. So let me give you a fun fact about the cell. Like, the cell are very tiny, as you already know that we cannot see them without the microscope, right? Most of the cells we cannot see through the naked eyes, and we should use the microscope. But there are some cells like the nerve cells. We can see nerve cells are also known as the neurons. They can be stretched up to right up to your toes, starting from the hips. So this 1 meter length can also be present of the nerve cell. So let us find out what we have already studied. We have already discussed about the cell shape and size, the different cellular organelles which are present within the cytoplasm, as well as we have also discussed about the cellular membrane, the plasma membrane, the main structure of the plasma membrane, the fluid mosaic model, and we have also studied about the cytoplasm and the nucleus. So definitely we will again meet in the next class, and before meeting you have to do some homework. So these are the different questions. Let please copy it down for your homework. I would like to discuss it in the next session. So first of all, you have to describe the fluid mosaic model in your own words, whatever is present, the different components, along with the diagram. I would expect that you will do practice at home. Fine. And the second one is the function of the cytoplasm. What are the main functions of the cytoplasm? Please list them down with it in your notebook. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for being with Swiflearn and being with me throughout the session. I hope you have already understood whatever we have discussed in this session about the cell. So as you have already subscribed our channel, let me remind you again that whoever have not subscribed our channel, please subscribe it and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any update of the next session. So stay with Swiflearn, like, comment and share with your friends and family members. So we will again meet in the next session. Till then, bye bye, stay safe and stay healthy. Stay at home. Bye bye.